Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Shift Hub. Today we're going to be talking about greenwashing. It's a really great topic and really just to understand firstly, what is it? What is really greenwashing and how can we avoid it as individuals? But also just a little bit more about my opinions, my thoughts about this particular idea, this concept. So many people have heard the word greenwashing, but if you don't know what it is, it's essentially this idea of people or companies essentially using vague language or using buzzwords that imply eco-friendly, that imply natural, organic, whatever it might be, and sustainable, and essentially hiding behind these buzzwords without clear, transparent information, and also sometimes taking action such as carbon offsetting rather than preliminary action, which is very important before we move to carbon offsetting. Carbon offsetting is really that final step that you might take if you were following a decarbonization pathway. So, buffering the truth essentially with these kind of buzzwords and vague identity that they're a green and eco-friendly company. That being said, my thoughts are that when we latch onto a word or we latch onto an idea, the media kind of runs with it, right? And so sometimes there's also that balance between people claiming that a company is greenwashing or claiming that this program or project has been greenwashed because of a perceived idea. They may not like what the company is questioning them to do or questioning them to think about, or questioning the norm. And so they claim that the company might be greenwashing or they exaggerate it. So there's various reasons why there can be also that false side of people claiming that a program or a company or a product is greenwashing. But in actual fact, really what this calls for is much more research and really a well-formed opinion about whether a company or program or a product is actually greenwashed. So I guess some of the things that we can think about, how to identify what is a greenwashed company or program or product. Let's just not keep repeating those three words. But if something has been greenwashed, the things that you might see are sometimes buzzwords or images of nature, like images of trees and rivers and mountaintops, and they'll use words like eco-friendly, sustainable, but there's not a lot of detail behind those words. There's just those key words or those phrases, and sometimes they'll promote one area of their business where they are claiming to be sustainable, like a sustainable production practice, and they might not actually show you the manufacturing details and where they manufacture as well, because that can be a really important part of whether they truly are a green company or they're really just kind of brushing over the truth. And so hiding information is a big one. Again, as I said, a company might claim straight away, we've carbon offsetted this much of carbon, or they may say things like we have, reduced our carbon by this much. But when you really look into it, what they've actually done is purchase carbon offsetting. And carbon offsetting, if you don't know what that is, it's essentially there's a wholesale market, and some have them national-wide, some are sort of global markets, and you can essentially, as a company, if you have 1,000 kiloton of carbon that you emit every year, you can purchase 50,000 kilotons of certificates. Each certificate is usually around 1,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide. And so by purchasing the certificates, which are formed by another company or another project or program that has taken the efforts to reduce their carbon in some way, and so as a result, they've generated these certificates to sell on the wholesale market. But that is not the step that, if you are truly decarbonizing your operations, it's essentially, I'm trying to think of a good example. Analogies are not my forte. Maybe they will become one day. But essentially, if you're offsetting straight away as a first step, then what you're essentially saying is, I'm going to reduce my food intake and go on a diet. But then what you're actually, no, you know what? I can't think of an example. Not good at it. not going to try. But the idea is that a company might be, emitting 100,000 kilotons of carbon a year. And rather than actually working towards avoiding the carbon dioxide production or the greenhouse gas production, looking at reuse options, looking at efficiency, looking at integration processes, looking at alternative energy forms, taking all of those high steps in the hierarchy before they think about offsetting, then it's a problem if they're just going straight to the offsetting, because offsetting is really that final step in the hierarchy. So that's really why, things like carbon offsetting are a real problem and can lead often to companies essentially greenwashing. Sometimes a company might be, claiming to explore more sustainable energy practices, while really one of their kind of senior execs or board members are really part of sort of a very unsustainable business elsewhere in their career or within the business itself, an offshoot business, an affiliate business. So really, truly is the business and their leadership and their org structure part of a truly sustainable business, especially if they're not so much, all levels of the business, but mainly the exec and the leadership team, because ultimately in any sustainable sort of business, they're the ones primarily responsible for driving the business forward in this space. And yeah, essentially that data behind the business, have they got certifiable data that's been accurately captured, it's transparent in its capturing process, it's been analyzed transparently, and then it's been reported as well, so disclosed to one of the recognized reporting bodies. Maybe it might be GRI or SAS. There's sort of those reporting frameworks that you can think about, or some sort of certifiable product certificate that can show that it actually is a sustainable product. So really, these are some of the things that you can look out for and then make a better decision. Often when you see a company's sustainability report, if they're not greenwashing, then there'll be a lot of clarity in their report in terms of, we've committed to decarbonizing to zero by 2040. And now it's, we're 2 years into our journey, and so far we have reduced our emissions by 10% by taking action X, Y, Z. And so it's very clear. They'll talk about the actions. They'll talk about the what they actually achieved, what they maybe set as a target, if they fell short, why they fell short, what they're going to do, next time around. So there'll be a lot of clarity in the data, and really not much room to make a claim that they're greenwashing, because they've tried to be transparent. And the often the most effective way to avoid any of that is to have a completely independent auditor come in and then audit the business, audit the sustainability claims, and then that's that kind of assurance that actually, yes, we really are saying what we're doing. We're not just saying it, we're actually doing what we say, is what I'm trying to get at. So really, how can companies safeguard themselves from greenwashing? Because as I said, there is always that balance with companies actually greenwashing and sometimes people making false or exaggerated claims for their own kind of belief systems or own kind of influences. There are various reasons why it can also become a false claim or be a false claim to start with. So ways to avoid it is, when you're making your claims, make sure that they are detailed, they're specific, they're really essentially following that kind of SMART process, scientific, measurable, what's the other one, accountable, traceable. I don't know what the acronym for SMART is, but many of you have heard of it. And so using a process like that to make sure that your claims are specific and they're detailed, that's one way to start. Back up your claims with the data. Obviously not all companies have to present their data publicly unless they're sort of stock exchange listed. But either way, if your company is going down this pathway and you want to do it in a way that is transparent and also reputable, then put up your data with clarity and get that third-party certification on your data as well. Then make comparisons as well. Like if you are making comparisons, to say one of your competitors' practices or products, make sure you're comparing the same product and you're considering where things might be different in your comparisons, so that essentially all of the things that you're saying and doing, for example, when you compare yourself to other products and say why yours is better or more green or more eco-friendly, actually make sure that you're doing it with integrity in the first place. You're not comparing apples and oranges, you're comparing apples for apples. Green apples, red apples, right? They're the same sort of product, but you're comparing them and saying why your green one is better than the red. So really make sure that there is integrity in the comparisons and your claims in the first place. And then, make sure that you are actually cleaning up your business. If you don't have a team in-house, hire consultants. But also, if you do have a team in-house, hire consultants. This is not a plug for my business. I will get business regardless. That's okay. But the point is that when you bring in somebody externally into this process, then you get to shake things up, which is important. You need to shake things up, because when you're working just with the people within your business, within your team, there's a level of cultural stagnation and sort of much of the sameness, because there's a cultural norm usually within every business. And so the consultant or the external person can come in and really kind of shake things up and get the people in the business thinking differently or questioning things that would otherwise have just been business as usual for that type of business. So that's where it's really important to have an external consultant come in or external expertise come in and shake things up. So again, driving home the whole, be honest, be transparent, make sure it's measurable, make sure there's integrity in the way that you're marketing it, in the way that you're making claims. And then, of course, make sure that ties in effectively into your branding and your marketing message, that your words are not very exaggerated. Yes, at times we can be a little bit exaggerated in our words. It's sort of just the way we describe things sometimes if we're passionate about it, but just make sure that there is a level of integrity with how you're doing it, so that your marketing team or your branding team just sort of doesn't do things separate to the core process, that everybody is on board in that journey. Because I always say this, that when I talk to any clients, that the sustainability champions in the business shouldn't just be the engineering or operating team. It should also be the accounting team, the legal team, the marketing team, someone from each of these teams to be part of this champion group or the sustainable collective within the business, because they're going to firstly be doing things that are very different, and there needs to be integrity in the process. And this ties in with the whole greenwashing issues. So hence why it's something that I always think is really important to ensure that businesses maintain that level of integrity. So if any of you have any thoughts, questions about this, please let me know. In my opinion, I just think that this is something that we need to try and not get too caught up about. And yes, we have to be sure of our decisions and our choices as consumers, as potential clients of businesses, but also we have to make sure that we are not exaggerating or being hard on these businesses as well, because it is a journey, it is a process. And the journey is certainly complex. And so, if we can support businesses along this journey to becoming more green and doing it with integrity and transparency, then let's be part of the solution. Let's look at it as a challenge rather than a problem. Because when we focus on things as a problem, even this word greenwashing, if we focus on it as a problem, it will stay a problem and it'll potentially expand. But if we can focus on it as a challenge, then we can work with the system, with the businesses, with the sectors to be part of the change. So those are my thoughts today. Keeping it short, keeping it simple. I just hope that you have enjoyed this and that you take care of yourselves for the rest of the week or always. And if you have any thoughts or questions about what I've shared today, let me know, or any ideas as well about topics to discuss. Talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye.